Friends, Mgtow brothers, countrymen, lend me your ears, for I have another Tiger Talk. Today, I want to cover two examples of men. Weak men, beta males, several terms. We see them bandied about the manosphere all the time. So, pick one. Weak men. Men who pander emphatically to their significant other. So much so that it makes you cringe. I think all of us know someone like that. I know two at the moment, fresh in my mind, and that's why I wanted to make this, while it was fresh in my mind. The first one, let's call him Brian with a Y. And the second one is John Doe, original, I know. So, I want to describe them, talk about some of their positives and negatives, talk about the relationship, who they're with, what they do, and lessons. Always lessons. You can, I think, figuring out a person, understanding them, is very important in this life, just to maneuver. I think the Buddhists say be mindful. That's a nice phrase. So Brian, he is someone in the industry. I would say, if you think of myself or ourselves as a sun, and there's different orbit levels: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and the further the orbit, the more an outer circle they are of friends, and there's the inner circle, obviously. He is not even in the outer circle, but I keep him because he opens doors in my particular industry. He's good for networking. He has some good knowledge in certain areas, and yeah, he knows the landscape of the area that we work in. So he's a good person to know. He's clung on to me, and he phones every weekend. We don't have anything in common. We don't have any interests, and I've tried to put barriers. He phones me every weekend, but that's okay. I'm polite. I listen. He's opened doors for me. That's okay. I think no one listens to him. He's very negative. He's a very negative, energy-sapping kind of guy, but that's okay. Not surprisingly, he's a collectivist. He backstabs a lot. He loves to gossip. He's not open-minded. I've seen him because we've worked in the same place. He's not terribly conscientious. He's entitled, quite lazy, I would say arrogant. He's clever, definitely an introvert, almost borderline socially awkward. Has definite neuroses, pretty antisocial. He was very, very overweight, so turn out a bit. I'm going to talk about some of his pros. I think it's important to... Well, before I do that, when I have friends, I often ask myself, how loyal do I think they'd be to me if worst came to worst? And I can tell from little signs he wouldn't be loyal at all. So he's not even in my outer circle, as I say. I limit my conversations with him accordingly. He usually does all the talking. I mean, I talk about trivia, but he does all the kind of heart-to-heart stuff, because he's obviously very lonely, and it kind of makes me feel sad for him, but that's his deal. He gives me insights into the industry, as I said. But positives for him. Now, I'm scratching my head here. He knows how to bargain for more money when he's negotiating for salaries. He's like a mercenary, hired gun. I'm trying to spin that out as a positive, I suppose. It's ironic because at the moment he's lost his job and he's out of money and he can't get another job, and it's because he has these really high standards. He's not very open, so he's very narrow in what he wants to do. He's not willing to be open. I mean, in his situation, I'd be willing to adapt just to survive. There's so low you can go on the salary. I get that, but he's not willing to. He's not willing to give up on one iota. He is a good listener. I'll give him that. He's an incredible listener, which is unusual. And then, to his credit, also, he used to be very overweight, and he's lost a lot of weight, and he's kept it off for at least 3 years. He eats very carefully, so I would say that kind of willpower is definitely a strength. Negatives: he's very disagreeable, not open at all. He started to open up to me recently about his girlfriend. He's not a critical thinker, very much a popular kind of mainstream thinker, very, very blue pill. He holds on to stuff. He holds on to grudges. We both worked in a company years ago, and to me it's hilarious. I mean, it's over 10 years ago now. It's hilarious because the Scientologists got in and the whole place became a frigging farce, and luckily I managed to jump ship to a much bigger, better company. But he did jump later, but it was terrible because he had this Scientologist crap going on and all this political rubbish. And it's been 12 years and he'll still talk about it with anger, and recently they've gone to some trouble and they fired a load of people that were both of our friends, and he has great glee about that. So it reflects the kind of person he is, passive aggressive, and underlines why I kind of keep him at arm's length. He will be passive aggressive and angry about stuff, but he won't actually do anything. He's not proactive in that sense. He'll just whine about stuff. He's a poor communicator. He's not a good communicator. Next, his woman interest is Raiko, his girlfriend. She's a bit younger than him. She's a stripper, and in my opinion, she's pretty hideous. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I'm told. They started courting or dating or whatever, and he basically paid for everything. He paid for her apartment. He paid her a salary because he didn't want her to go back to stripping. He bought her a car and co-signed on the lease. I mean, she couldn't get a lease herself. She was terrible. She's financial dire straits. She's a loser. She's not terribly bright. She's dim, duplicitous. She's a liar. She's insecure, emotionally stunted, and just like him, she's pretty entitled, I'd say. But the worst thing is, not only was she pretty vile to my eye, she wasn't faithful to him, as this story unfolds. We'll see. What I don't understand is, I kept wanting to say, why are you paying? There's only one reason why you pay like this, is because he's got such low self-esteem, And he kept saying, well, it's unconditional love, and I don't want her to worry about this. That's a load of crap. He was just paying, and he's paying for dental bills and everything. They weren't even living together. It's terrible. So, and the worst thing was, in the manosphere, on various Mgtow websites, we read about these beta male pussies, and people, are like, yeah, what the fuck? But you don't expect to see it unfold before your eyes so completely first-hand like this. I mean, this is textbook. This is textbook. He can't see what the hell's going on, He can't see he's being totally used, and because it's not inner circle, I wouldn't be insistent, but I'd ask questions and I'd say, don't you think she's using you? Don't you think, The worst of it was she got pregnant, and not by him. She got pregnant by someone else, by some frigging. And it's not a Chad. He was a loser, but he was a thug life type. And I thought, this is it. I can ask questions and at least maybe influence him over to the red pill mindset, and maybe from that other things will follow. like self-reliance and independence, and not being a collectivist. No such luck. He saw it as an opportunity because this thug life father of the child has no money and stuff, and it's unlikely he wants to be part of the father. So he said, "This is an opportunity for me to become the real father, and I'll do what I have to do, and I'll sign up." He was rubbing. It's almost rubbing his hands in glee, and I'm thinking, cuckold. This is real proper cuckold over here. She was fucking him. She's fucked you over, and you want to go back and you want to become the father. I don't understand. It's incredulous. Red pills weren't even working, not even a bit. I thought there was a chance, and why do I care? I don't. But what I care about is it's an influence on it illustrates how society is, and this is all real. This isn't just something you've read on a Mgtow page. This is happening every day, I bet, and that's what's so disheartening about it. So it's interesting. Hold that thought there. I tried to red pill him. I'm going to go to John now, and we'll come back. John Doe and his girlfriend Janet Doe. John's different to Brian. I consider him a friend. Maybe not that close. I could see us getting closer. He's a good guy. He's a younger guy. He's very curious. He's bright, open, conscientious, agreeable. He's the opposite of Brian. He's very agreeable, maybe too agreeable sometimes. If he wants to go into leadership, he may have to look into the agreeableness and actually try and be a bit harder. I've told him this. Because being too agreeable doesn't help in leadership. It helps with being influencing and diplomacy. I can see passive aggressive tendencies in him. He got laid off during the pandemic, and he was analysing it and very angry about what happened a long time after. I don't know how direct he was. He was, I can see some passive aggressive tendencies with him. When he had a review, he was very angry, and the review I heard about was just pretty direct. So, and yet he didn't make his concerns clear at the time, but he did to me. So kind of passive aggressive, but those little things can be addressed. So Janet, I knew first. I knew John through Janet. Janet I met in a meetup. She's a flirt. I don't find her attractive. She's young. She's very up on herself. She thinks she's amazing. To me, she's very insecure because she's always saying how pretty she is. She's always having to ram that point home. And to me, she's pretty plain. I don't think she's anything really. It was obvious that their relationship wasn't good because she would complain about him, and when we'd ask where he is, she'd say, "I don't know where he is. I'm not supposed to be keeping tabs." So it was really obvious that things weren't tickety-boo between them. So the other more concerning thing is she was very into polyamory. There was a phase when she kept flirting with me, wanting to hang out, wanting my number. And then when I travel a lot for work, when I travel, I'd come back. I travel on open my social media, and I'd find peppered in loads of messages from her about missing me and all this kind of stuff. And nothing about between us. I wouldn't met it. I wouldn't do it to John. She doesn't interest me. And I shouldn't really be. I'm not really complimented by this. My ego isn't complimented because she's just into the next shiny thing. It's the kind of person she is. Very fickle. Just moves on to the next shiny thing. And she would flirt with other guys in front of John, and John would be almost oblivious. But I mean, he doesn't show the emotion, but I'm sure he feels it. So, yeah, she's very insecure, like I said, very controlling because she's insecure. She was abused as a kid. I'd say she's pretty plain looking. Inconsiderate, I'd say low empathy, boastful of herself, i.e. again, signalling her insecurity. List goes on. She lives off John. John pays for everything. See a common theme here? Pays for the apartment, pays for everything. She doesn't understand the value of money. She's the kind who gets very attached because she's insecure. And she would keep pushing John for a polyamorous relationship. Now, step back. Polyamory, reverse harems are a new trend amongst the alternative set of women. It's like feminism. It's like women who want lots of guys at their beck and call and this kind of crap. And she wanted to do that kind of stuff. She would argue with John about this, and it would really cut John up because for some reason he was head over heels about her. You know, he'd been his hormones. He was subject to his hormones. You name it, totally into her. One day she pressured me and asked me what I thought of her, because she sees herself as aggressive and a strong woman, and I said, I don't see that. And she goes, tell me. And I said, I don't want to get into this. And I finally said to her, I see her pretty much as a child. And she was kind of shocked, and I wasn't trying to be mean. I see her as a little child, very vulnerable child, you know, insecure child. So she's flaky. They break up, and that's, you know, and when they broke up, I thought to myself, this is the best thing that could happen to John. John moved back to California, got good conservative values and stuff. You know, I thought this would be a new start for him. On his leaving do in the Midwest, she brings her new plaything, and I'm just thinking, why would you do that to John? You know, and he's kind of stoic. He doesn't show it, but it really did. It really hurt him. So yeah, pretty bad. I hung out with him later, and I tried to feed him some red pills. Now, I was surprised to find out that he did know about good Mgtow philosophy. He agreed with the self-reliance and being the best that you can and the better version of yourself. Things that he agrees with. His thing, his gap, I would say, is this: you give permission to people on how they treat you. People try and screw you over if you allow them to. They do it anyway, but you need to stand up for yourself. And he's too nice. I gave an example of someone I know from the past called Amy, and she was never in a relationship with me, but she kept pursuing me, and I just thought it was hilarious. She was just some post-war person, and it was during the pandemic, and I thought, I'm lonely, someone to watch TV with. I didn't even want to do anything physical with her, but she would be manipulative, except I was like 3 steps ahead of her, and it was just hilarious. And then she started trying to attack me, because she was like borderline socialist, and I said to her, you're a terrible mother, and I brought up some of the insecurities and whammed her. And then she was, as a kind of slap on the wrist, as in, don't try and fuck with me. I told John about it, and he was horrified. His innocent ears, his facial expressions, he was horrified. And from that, I know that he's too innocent, and he's not, he doesn't have any, I don't want to say have any danger, but doesn't have any backbone in some ways. So, I don't know, it's good not to hold on to stuff, but you do need to have a backbone. So in terms of Mgtow, you know, I could try and give him some red pills and with copious amounts of water, or even intravenously feed him. But it won't take. It won't take. And I think the point I'm trying to make here, it's the same with Brian. Talking and philosophizing and using vigorous, emphatic, prolific debates rarely helps. If the person respects you a lot, you can sway them to some degree, but it rarely helps. It's basic biology we're trying to fight here. We're trying to override basic biology, and it's very, very difficult. To be a Mgtow warrior, you need tremendous self-restraint and control, and you need to be burned. John has hope. You need to be burned over and over again to see the truth. Brian is too far gone. I mean, his whole thinking is on a different level. So, again, the only way for people to make the crossover is for them to experience it themselves and be awakened to the Mgtow level of consciousness. And that right there, guys, is the sad truth. I'm also Tiger. Mgtow Rising. Be strong, brothers. Take care. See you next time.